Hey guys, we're back today to talk about Goldilocks and the Three Bears that we heard the other day. But I want to stop and look at this part first. Our big question with this story is, how can we retell the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears? When you retell something, that means you tell it again. So if somebody said, hey, what was that book about? You can tell them about the book without saying every single word for the book. And when we do a retelling, we always include the beginning of the story, the middle of the story, and the ending, okay? And I like to use these, go, slow, and stop. When you see green, yellow, and red, what does that kind of look like? Does it look like a traffic light? Okay, and when the light turns green, that means it's time to go. And when the light is yellow, it means slow down. And when the light is red, you have to stop. So we're going to think about a traffic light as we read through this story. At the beginning of the story, we're just going to go, okay? It's off to a great start. We're going to try to listen and figure out who the characters are in the story. Remember, the characters are the people or things that are in the story. Who is the story about? And then we're also going to go until we hear the setting. The setting tells us, where are they? Okay, so we're going to be listening for characters and setting. And then the slow down part means, whoa, there seems to be a problem here. We better take it nice and slow until we figure out what the solution is. And then the ending, well, the story's pretty much through. So was it a happily ever after at the end? We'll have to read and find out. So as we're reading today, I want you to help me slow down or stop for just a second when we hear the characters in the story, when we hear the setting of the story, or whoa, when there is a problem going on, okay? Let's slow down our reading today and really think about what we're reading. So again, this is Goldilocks and the Three Bears, retold and illustrated by James Marshall. Once there was a little girl called Goldilocks. What a sweet child, said someone new in town. Huh, that's what you think, said the neighbor. So we've already been introduced to one character. Who is that? That's Goldilocks. So I have this little girl character to represent Goldilocks. See the gold in her hair? So one character in our story is Goldilocks. Okay, let's keep reading and see what else we find. One morning, Goldilocks' mother sent her to buy muffins in the next village. You must promise not to take the shortcut through the forest, she said. I've heard that bears live there. I promise, said Goldilocks, but to tell the truth, Goldilocks was one of those naughty little girls who do exactly as they please. This says shortcut, danger, very risky, not a good idea. Turn back, go the other way. But look at her face. Do you think she's going to listen to that? I don't think so either. Meanwhile, in a clearing deeper inside the forest, in a charming house all their own, a family of brown bears was sitting down to breakfast. See them? I wonder if they're going to be big characters like Goldilocks. Let's see if they're in any more of this book. Patooey! Cried big old Papa Bear. This porridge is scalding. I've burned my tongue. I'm dying, said Baby Bear. Now really, said Mama Bear, who was of medium size, that's quite enough. I know, said Papa Bear. Why don't we go for a spin while the porridge is cooling? Excellent, said Mama Bear. So they got on their rusty old bicycle and off they went. Okay, now it's starting to sound like these are going to be big characters in the story because they're already talking in the story and there's been a lot about them so far. So we had Papa Bear who said his porridge was too hot. We had Mama Bear who decided that that was quite enough. And we had Baby Bear who thought he was dying over this porridge. And where are the bears? Do you remember it said that they're in a forest clearing? In a clearing in the forest. That means a place where there aren't any trees for a little bit. In a clearing in the forest. So that's our setting. That tells us where these bears are. Even their ride from the bike is through a forest clearing. So I'm going to put up their little house in the forest. See the trees to show where they are? And let's see what happens next. We're still on go, the beginning. We know who is there now, and we know what they're doing. Right now, the bears are trying to go. Something I think about. The bears are trying to go on a little ride so that they can let their porridge cool off. A few minutes later, Goldilocks arrived at the bear's house. She walked right in without even bothering to knock. On the dining room table were 3 inviting bowls of porridge. I don't mind if I do, said Goldilocks, helping herself to the biggest bowl. Is that very kind? So this little girl did not even bother to knock on the door. Is this her house? It's not her house. Is this her porridge? No. Is she being kind? So that kind of sounds like there's a problem. We need to slow down. The middle. Whoa. Something's going on here. Do these bears know Goldilocks? The story hasn't told us that they know each other. They're deep in the forest in their own little cabin. And Goldilocks has now come up and invited herself in. Don't mind if I do. So she's not even asking permission. And here she goes. She's in there with the biggest bowl. But the porridge in the biggest bowl was much too hot. Patooey, said Goldilocks, and she spat it out. Next, she tasted the porridge in the medium-sized bowl, but that porridge was much too cold. Then Goldilocks tasted the porridge in the little bowl, and it was just right, neither too hot nor too cold. In fact, she liked it so much that she gobbled it all up. How would you feel if somebody came into your house and ate your dinner and made such a big mess on your table? That's a problem, isn't it? I see a lot of problem happening. Do we hear a solution? Have they fixed the problem yet? She hasn't fixed it. Let's see what's happening. Feeling full and satisfied, Goldilocks thought it would be great fun to have a look around. Right away, she noticed a lot of coarse brown fur everywhere. They must have kitties, she said. Does she know they're bears? In the parlor, there were 3 chairs. I don't mind if I do, she said, climbing into the biggest one. But the biggest chair was much too hard, and she just couldn't get comfortable. How tall that chair is. She is not comfortable. Is that her chair to get comfortable in? It's sure not. Next, she sat in the medium-sized chair, but that chair was much too soft, and she thought she might never get out of it. We can't even see her because she kind of sunk all the way into the chair. Then Goldilocks sat in the little chair, and that was just right. Neither too hard. In fact, she liked it so much that she rocked, and then till the chair completely fell apart. I only still hear problem. Do you hear a solution yet? So now she's eaten their porridge, which didn't belong to her. She has sat in all the chairs. She made a big mess and broke Baby Bear's chair, and it didn't even belong to her. It's just more problems so far. Now, all that rocking left Goldilocks quite tuckered out. I could take a little snooze, she said. So she went to look for a comfy place to nap. Upstairs, there were 3 beds. I do think there were 3. There were 3 bowls of porridge. There were 3 chairs to sit in, and now there's 3 beds. Why 3 of everything? Are there 3 bear characters? There are 3 bear characters. So there's 1 of each for this family. Was there an extra for Goldilocks? Because this is not her house. She is not being kind. She's taking all of their things. Upstairs, there were 3 beds. I don't mind if I do, said Goldilocks, and she got into the biggest one. But the head of the biggest bed was much too high. More like a slide for her, right? Next, she tried the medium-sized bed, but the head of that bed was much too low. Then Goldilocks tried the little bed, and it felt just right. Soon she was all nice and cozy and sound asleep. She did not hear the bears come home. How do you think they're going to feel when they walk in the house? The 3 bears were mighty hungry, but when they went in for breakfast, they could scarcely believe their eyes. Somebody has been in my porridge, said Papa Bear. Somebody has been in my porridge, said Mama Bear. Somebody's been in my porridge, said Baby Bear, and eaten it all up. Look at that big mess Goldilocks left. Have they fixed the problem yet, though? Haven't fixed it. In the parlor, the 3 bears were in for another little surprise. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said Papa Bear. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said Mama Bear. Somebody has been sitting in my chair, said Baby Bear, and broken it to smithereens. The 3 bears went upstairs on tiptoe, not knowing what they would discover. Do we readers know what's upstairs? Do you remember? Goldilocks is sleeping in the bed. But the bears don't know that yet. They're going upstairs very quietly to see what's going on because they still don't understand what's happening. At first, everything seemed fine, but then Papa Bear lay down on his big brass bed. Somebody has been lying in my bed, he cried, and he was not amused. Egads, cried Mama Bear. Somebody has been lying in my bed. Look, cried Baby Bear. Somebody has been lying in my bed, and she's still there. Miss Goldilocks fell asleep. Now see here, roared Papa Bear. Goldilocks woke up with a start, and her eyes nearly popped out of her head. But before the bears could demand a proper explanation, Goldilocks was out of the bed, out the window, and on her way home. Who was that little girl? Asked Baby Bear. I have no idea, said Mama Bear, but I hope we never see her again. And they never did.